Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice of radio, and if you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen, then I've got great news. I'm a dad. I've had a baby. This is a video I am making in advance of my child being born, Lil Roasty, who by hopefully the time you listen to this will have a real name, not just Lil Roasty, although feel free to call him Lil Wassy or Half Wassy. Those are all appropriate placeholder baby names. I'm making this video in advance so that when the kid does come along, you guys have got some videos to enjoy, and I get to, upload this and read all of your comments while I'm sitting there and hoping the baby stays asleep for more than 30 seconds at a time. We are looking at the top 10 EXs. And we've had all of our EXs now. EXs are done and gone. We got our last EXs in Evolutions with, to be honest, the most relevant one from Evolutions was DarkrAI EX, and oh my goodness, this list was a nightmare to put together. We have had a whole bunch of ridiculously good EXs, so this video is probably going to be slightly longer than usual, but I'm not going to be splitting it into two parts because that's not how Wassy rolls. So, very quickly, let's have a run through the really good EXs that didn't make the list. Manaphy EX saw a whole bunch of play because it had a really good ability that gave free retreat to any Pokemon with water energy attached. Saw a lot of play. Didn't make the list. Aegis/EX, yes, I know the pronunciation's weird, but I assure you it is correct. Nice ability that prevented damage done from each of your opponent's Pokemon that had special energy, and kind of cool, it's been reprinted essentially as Circuitry GX. Or at least the ability has. Saw a lot of play, was a good wall. Glaceon EX saw a bit of play because it had the lovely Crystal Ray ability, attack, that then the next turn stopped attacks from evolved Pokemon. Pretty cool. Meant people would actually play stuff like Pokemon Ranger to get around it. Then Tapu Lele came out, and now Tapu Lele can always just attach a double colorless energy and smash this. Sorry, Glaceon. Speaking of which, Jolteon EX, which still does see a little bit of play here and there. Flash Ray stops attacks next turn from basic Pokemon. Did see a fair amount of play, but unfortunately just didn't have enough to keep going. Was for a while though a really expensive card because it was only actually printed in Generations. Then we see GENESECT EX, the metal one, had a nice little run with the Bronzong that accelerated energy from the discard pile, but as soon as Bronzong got rotated, GENESECT stopped being good. Malamar EX is a card I played around with quite a lot. Lovely ability, when you attach an energy, the defending Pokemon goes to sleep. And then a really great attack, 2 energy, flip a coin for each energy attached to it, 60 damage for each heads. It was a little bit of a meme, but it was so much fun. You can play this with stuff like Aromatisse, where you attach it and then move it to another Pokemon. Honestly, this was peppered into a whole bunch of decks throughout the years, and it was fun. Zygarde EX is still seeing play now. Okay, it's not as good as Buzzwole GX, but it still is seeing a bit of play. Nice Pokemon, efficient attacks, really good, hits a good weakness. And Giratina EX. It was expensive, but remember we had both double dragon energy and double colorless energy, which really helped us to get it rolling. And when you attacked the following turn, your opponent couldn't play tools, special energy, or stadiums. And it had immunity from Mega Evolved Pokemon. It was so much fun. It was expensive, but we saw it played with stuff like Max Elixir, with DarkrAI. We saw it played with Xerneas. It was a lot of fun. And now Pokemon that I really wanted to put in the list, but still didn't quite make it. The Plasma Lugia EX. Now this was played in Plasma decks, it was played in VIRIZION decks, it was a lot of fun. The ability said that if you took a KO, you got to take one more prize for doing so. 120 damage for 4 energy, and you had to discard a Plasma energy, was very expensive. Now it's all playing Plasma decks with stuff like Thundurus and Chorus Machine to accelerate the energy, and then stuff like DEOXYS and Muscle Band to try and make sure you were getting one-hit KOs on everything that you could. That was quite fun. And it's all playing VIRIZION GENESECT decks where you would soften things up with VIRIZION and then finish them off with Lugia to take extra prizes. So much fun. Espeon EX is actually still seeing a little play now, although it has recently fallen out of favour. One colourless energy, devolve all your opponent's Pokemon. This will play with stuff like Decidueye GX, where you would spread damage around, get enough damage on to KO the pre-evolution, and then devolve them and get the KO with Espeon. And Black Kyurem EX, which I really didn't want to leave off the list, but seriously, look at the list and tell me where it would go. Speaking of which, if you want to give me a whole top 10, please do in the comment section. I would be delighted. It saw play with Blastoise for a while, and it was a great, great deck. The thing is, Blastoise decks could live without it. It wasn't in Jacob Van Wagner's deck that won Worlds in 2015, for instance, which is what eventually kept it off of this list. Now, I'm doing a top 12 because there's too many good EXs. In at number 12, Volcanion EX, even now. This is a great card. It's just seen so much play. It's got a good attack. It's got the Steam Up ability that allows your basic fire Pokemon to do an extra 30 damage, and you can use multiple of these to do lots and lots and lots and lots of damage. It has been central to the format ever since Steam Siege came out, and even when it's right on the verge of being rotated, it's still seeing play. Yes, Ho-Oh GX and Kiawe have seen a little bit more in recent times, but it still remains a great card, and it's still seeing a lot of play even now. Speaking of which, REGIROCK EX. Now, this is a weird one, because for a little while this wasn't amazing. But ever since we've been playing cards like Buzzwole, it's just been over the top good. It initially saw play with Zygarde, but whereas Zygarde has become a one-off here and there, REGIROCK still remains essential to every fighting deck we see, so it's got to come in on this list at number 11. In at number 10, Jirachi EX. Now, Jirachi had the same ability as Tapu Lele GX, while having 90 HP, which is pitiful, and a terrible attack. But it's got to come in at number 10 here, because while Jirachi was out, it was a staple in every deck. And yes, it was a 2-prize liability at 90 HP, and yes, it is just in every way inferior to Tapu Lele and expanded right now, but Jirachi was huge when it was legal, and we've got to put it on this list. In at number 9, Mew EX. Even now, Mew EX is seeing a fair bit of play, largely as a Buzzwole counter. Mew EX has been coming in and out of the format ever since it was released in Dragons Exalted, and actually remains in the format now because we got this really cool reprint before they started doing alternate art reprints that didn't extend the life of a card in tournament play. It's a really good card that just allows you to copy the attacks of any Pokemon in play, as long as you've got the right ability. Yes, it's got 120 HP, and that really sucks because it gives up 2 prizes, but it's just seen play ever since it came out and continues to, even now. And it's been a few years, ladies and gentlemen. In at number 8, Thundurus and DEOXYS EX, the core of the Plasma deck. Now, this has seen success at World Championships and National Championships, and it was one of those decks that was amazing when it came out, but didn't remain amazing for the full run where it was legal. And even though it's legal and expanded now, it's just not seeing any play. But I don't think that should take it off the list, because there was a period of time where Plasma were the best decks in the format, and Thundurus and DEOXYS were the reason. Now, DEOXYS did have quite a nice attack for 2 energy. It allowed you to do 30 damage, plus 30 more for each energy on the defending Pokemon. Nice against a Kyurem, for instance. But it was the ability that just let your Plasma Pokemon do an extra 10 damage that really, really made it great. And you could have 3 or 4 DEOXYS on the bench and be doing 3 or 4 more extra damage. Then you had Thundurus that for a single energy did 30 damage plus accelerated an energy to the bench, or 70 damage if you had a DEOXYS on the bench, by which I mean 4. Or 90 damage if you had 4 DEOXYS and a Muscle Band. It was really quite good. These were the core of a deck that was great for a long time, and that's why they come in at number 8. But in at number 7, a deck that was even better for even longer, VIRIZION and GENESECT, and I don't think you can really separate these out, because GENESECT has never been that good without VIRIZION, and VIRIZION has never been that good without GENESECT. But there was a World Championships an entire World Championships back in 2014 that was all about VIRIZION and GENESECT. And I mean all about VIRIZION and GENESECT. Like, 3 of the top 4 decks were VIRIZION and GENESECT. It was that gosh darn good. But arguably not as good as number 6, DarkrAI and yVELTAL. Now here's the thing. yVELTAL was good without DarkrAI, and DarkrAI was good without yVELTAL. So, but I'm putting him in at number 6 because I really didn't know how to separate them. yVELTAL had an absolutely brilliant attack that just did more damage for every energy attached to both active Pokemon. It was Evil Ball. It was great. Although largely you would go through the game using Y-Cyclone, 90 damage for free energy, while moving an energy to the bench. It really was a very, very good Pokemon. And then you had DarkrAI that gave free retreat to darkness Pokemon while doing 30 to the bench and 90 to one of your opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, it was just great. Now, sometimes it saw success as a pair, but yVELTAL destroyed the London International Championships in 2016. It was the entire top 4. But then again, DarkrAI won the World Championships in 2013. So, I don't know. They were both great cards. They both saw success together and alone. So I'm popping them in at number 6. And DarkrAI and yVELTAL are number 6. In at number 5, KELDEO EX. KELDEO was a ridiculous Pokemon because it was a basic that had a stand-in ability that let you jump in the active, then you'd give it a float stone and it would have free retreats. Now, this was used just as a free retreater. We had moments where Excelgor was absolutely everywhere with automatic paralysis, so we would use KELDEO to get around the automatic paralysis. But it was also an amazing attacking Pokemon with Blastoise, and like I said, Jacob Van Wagner did actually win the World Championships with this deck. So you've got a card that was a great tech as a switching card, and was an attacker in one of the best decks in the format for many years. I mean, it had to go in at number 5. In at number 4, and this one, I cannot find the right place for this, MEwtwo EX. Because here's the thing, right, MEwtwo EX hasn't been good for a while. And it's still legal and expanded, but it hasn't been good for a while. The attack is still on Tapu Lele, but it's got the Redonk ability. But if you were playing in 2012, you'll understand. Mewtwo was everywhere. There were entire formats which came down to the Mewtwo Wars, because Mewtwo with a double colourless energy was great, and the best counter against a Mewtwo with a double colourless energy was a Mewtwo with a double colourless energy and a plus power, or a third energy. Mewtwo was over the top good. When I went to the ECC in 2012, I got 33rd and bubbled top cut. And I don't even think it was because I was that good a player, I just had more Mewtwo's than my opponents. Mewtwo was that good. Yes, it's won World Championships, of course it has. You know, all of these top cards have been featured in World Championship winning decks. That's not terribly surprising. It's just that in 2012, it was the format. And you would basically play the game to win the Mewtwo War, or to initiate the Mewtwo War at the best time for you. It was all about Mewtwo. So I've got to put it in here high on the list. I've gone for number 4. In at number 3, Hooper EX. Now, Hooper EX, when EXs were great, was everywhere. And then as GXs came in and EXs saw less play, Hooper went away. Except in Mega Rayquaza decks and Mega Gardevoir decks, where you were playing a whole bunch of EXs still, so it still saw a fair amount of play. It let you put free Pokemon EXs into your hand. They could be attackers, they could be Mega EXs, they could be Shaymin to draw cards, they could be Dragonite to recover cards. It was just over the top. And for as long as this was legal and EXs were seeing play, this was an absolute must-play in an EX-heavy deck. We don't really have any good EX-heavy decks at the moment in Expanded, and if we did, they'd all play many Hooper. In at number 2, a card that many of us played and many of us hated, although to be honest, I did gain quite a few top cuts at tournaments with this. I just didn't feel good about myself. Obviously, I'm talking about Seismitoad. Double colourless energy, 30 damage, and your opponent couldn't play item cards during their next turn. We saw it see play with Crobat to get some extra damage on the field. We saw it see play with Giratina, just to, block a whole bunch of other things other than item cards, special energy stadiums, etc. We saw it see play with Hypnotoxic Laser and Verbank City Gym, and there was a very brief period where Lysander's trump card was legal, where, and I'm not exaggerating, it was the only good deck when played with Slurpuff. I commentated the 2015 UK National Championships and during Swiss by myself, and it was Seismitoad or lose. And the final was a Seismitoad mirror match, because you could use Lysander's trump card to recover things like Pokemon Catcher, Super Scoop Up, and Crushing Hammer, along with Hypnotoxic Laser, and yeah. It meant that you were hitting every one of those cards every single turn you wanted to, and it was literally broken. Seismitoad was over the top good and is still seeing play and expanded, even though it has been outclassed by a lot of the newer GXs that have come in. But in at number 1, no surprise, it's Shaymin. In the last 15-16 minutes, I have shown you a lot of good EX cards that saw a lot of play and a lot of success. But Shaymin was an absolute must-play in every single deck. Shaymin was the most expensive of all of these cards, and it actually had a decent attack doing 30 damage for a double colourless and putting it back into your deck. People would use it to cycle against decks that played Bursting Balloon, so that you would never get hit by Bursting Balloon. But let's face it was all about setup. It was just about the ability that let you draw until you had 6 cards in your hand. And for as long as Shaymin was legal, well, really until Tapu Lele came out and kind of replaced it, it was literally a case of, if you played Shaymin and your opponent didn't, you'd have a faster, more consistent deck, and you'd probably win. It really was as simple as that. We have had a lot of good EX cards over the years, and it was very difficult to make this list. It took me a long time, and I sat there and pored over every EX card we've had. Modern EX card, obviously. But Shaymin is the easy and obvious number 1. This was a very difficult list to make, and I encourage you all to make your own list and see how difficult it is to make. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice and show me your own top 10 list. I would love to see it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do check out my other channel, Wossy Plays, for some more Wossy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.